Today I'm going to show you how to hire a manufacturer sales rep from start to finish. My name is Mike Cioffi, the founder of Talent Traction, and if you are hiring for your own company that makes a widget and sells it, and you need to hire a manufacturing sales rep, here's a step-by-step play that you could implement yourself. So there's 5 key phases to any role that we actually recruit: target setting, road mapping, recruiting, decision making, and post placement. The most often overlooked one is called target setting. This is where we are going to align internally on exactly what you're looking for. And we're going to clarify your business goals for the hire. If you're expanding new territories, growing new accounts, launching a product line, defining performance targets, et cetera, et cetera. So you can do this on um, by yourself on a Google Doc with a framework, or you can use an app to do it. And we've created this free tool that you could use that I'm going to be using for the purposes of this demo, but you don't have to use this tool. You could do it in your own Google Doc or Word doc. So let's first start by thinking about what's the title of the position and what should it be. So I think it should be very straightforward, whatever your industry may be. In my case, I recruit a lot for the industrial industries, automotive, rubber, manufacturing in general. I'm looking for a regional sales representative for the Northeast. So I could put Northeast in there, or even put it um, in parentheses. This position reports to the VP of sales. And it's important to put this type of information on your scoping doc when you're target setting, so that we have a whole baseline of information, whether you're an entrepreneur hiring your first person, or if you're part of a large manufacturing organization and hiring your 10,001 employee. Um, Now we want to know, are there any direct reports that actually roll into this position? In this case, there will not be. So we'll just answer no. Is this a remote, hybrid, or do they have to report into a location? So typically when hiring a manufacturer or sales rep, they're typically traveling a lot, so they will most likely be remote. If you're hiring for a manufacturing sales rep and you want them to report into your office every day, um, just note that it may not be typical in your industry, and it may be a hurdle that you have to cross when you're actually attracting candidates for the role. We're going to put in the actual schedule. Will you be able to reload folks and support reload if needed? And then the next question would be around travel expectations. How much do we really want this person to travel? And then in terms of the projected start date, we can put, let's say, 4 weeks out or 8 weeks out from the time that you're posting it. But it's just good to have some internal alignment on when you expect to actually hire this person. I like to say typically there's a 90-day recruitment cycle. The first 30 days is internal sourcing, initial screening, etc. The next 30 days are the heavy set of interviews that occur. And then the last 30 days are an offer is made to one of the 3 to 5 top candidates. Hopefully they accept it, and then they're winding down their current role. Obviously, this could take a lot longer, but also it could happen a lot sooner. The next part that we're going to look at is in terms of education. How important really is it in your world for what you're hiring to have certain levels of degrees? In my case, they're pretty technical roles, so a bachelor's or master's is really preferred. The next question is really around 3 to 5 hard skills for this role. So when we think of soft skills, we could think of time management, adaptability, critical thinking, etc. In my case, for this manufacturer sales rep role, I really think it's important that they are critical thinkers, they're good at problem solving, and they're really good with their time. What are 3 to 5 critical hard skills for this role? So really, we could type in whatever is specific for your type of role. You can customize it. In my case, pricing strategy is really important because we want to make sure that they are preserving certain types of margin. Also, that they are actually have rubber sales experience. So I could type in rubber sales experience. And lastly, that they have a robust CRM experience. In this case, our company uses Salesforce, so we're going to use this as the third one. In terms of the 3 past must-haves or deal breakers, you could put one of the hard skills like rubber sales experience up here, but if they don't have it, is it actually a deal breaker for you? So I could use a tool to AI generate these, but really, let's think in your mind, what are some must-haves or deal breakers that this manufacturer sales rep must have? So in my case, I want to make sure that they have at least 5 years experience in negotiating rubber sales and specifically rubber manufacturing sales. The next is that they have 5 years experience in traveling within the Northeast. So one of the biggest reasons for turnover within my industry specifically are folks are just not used to the travel. So when individuals join from other industries and they aren't used to traveling, it's one of the top reasons that folks burn out and unfortunately no longer want to stay in their role. The next deal breaker is they have 5 years experience in opening new client distribution. So later in our process, we're going to identify how we're actually going to vet for these things. But for me in my role, these are really important because I'm looking them to um, open up some new channels within the Northeast and really hit the ground running and make sure that our product line is getting the visibility that it needs within the Northeast. Maybe different in your situation. Let's say that you're hiring maybe a key account manager or relationships based person where maybe that hunter really isn't required. Then maybe opening new clients isn't as important for you. But maintaining some sort of, let's say, um, customer retention would be really important to you, and they have this background within whatever niche that you're hiring or adjacent niche. So, in terms of key responsibilities and what this person does, again, it's super easy to click and AI generate what this person is actually doing, but we want to make sure that we are writing exactly what they're doing from a day to day basis. So, in my case, this person is developing and implementing sales strategy for the Northeast region. They're managing and growing existing accounts, et cetera, et cetera. You want to make sure that you're actually going through each bullet. It's not fluff. And we are putting in precisely as close to what they do. All too often, job descriptions have a lot of fluff and they get really confusing to the candidate. So if we make it as precise and as simple as possible, we're more than likely to attract the right candidates. What are the primary responsibilities for this position? Again, you're going to want to put this in your own words, maybe have AI refine it. But in this case, we're just going to quickly put some up. So we're generating the content as examples for you. I think this next question is probably the most important as part of the entire target setting. And that is, what are 3 to 5 measurable KPIs that to define success within the first year? And you could keep these really simple, right? So from a manufacturing rep standpoint, I could AI generate it, or I could just simply put the 3 ones that I want, so that they're clear. Um, they should already exist within your organization if you are have an existing team, etc. But in this case, it's let's say a brand new Northeast rep role. I want to grow, let's say, 100 new accounts in the Northeast. I want to maintain current accounts clients by 95%. And I want to increase product mix of new line by 10%. So you want to make sure that your KPIs are also actually achievable and reasonable. That, let's say you had 100 sales reps start, maybe 20% are actually able to really hit them in terms of designing a comp plan later, which is your on-target earnings. In terms of the interview process, this is the next step that we're going to go over. So again, on your doc, or you could use this app, who's actually going to be interviewing, who should be seeing the initial candidates. So in this case, we'll just put Joe Smith at yahoo.com. What does your interview process look like? Again, short and sweet. Typically want to have three. I could AI generate it, or I could keep it simple and say 1, phone screen with HR. 2, let's say on-site with hiring management. And then 3 would be, let's say, and then followed by dinner for number 2. And then 3, and that's really it. Maybe 3 is offer. Or like final virtual or final sense check with the CEO. 3 should really be enough. When we think about comp, we want to make sure that we're within range of whatever is typical for the role and experience level that you're recruiting for. So let's just say in this case, 100 to 125K is the range. We want to be transparent as much as we can. We can be within the comp, and then in terms of the comp structure as well. This will really help you attract the right candidate. And then in terms of the package and benefits and anything else that comes along, you could feel free to share that here. Also, we want to sell the position, right? So what are some unofficial perks associated with this position? Is there a non-compete required, et cetera, et cetera? We could then ask, what are recent accomplishments related to this position or team? Selling the candidate on the role. Why is your place the best place to work? And then is there anything else that we should know for the role that we didn't ask or think about that you want to note here? And then this is kind of our baseline or target setting in terms of the step 1 or phase 1 of actually recruiting a role. So we can look at the details and go over it, review it, edit it in our Google Doc if we created it there. And then the next step would be to create an actual job description for the role. We want to make sure our job description sells your company's mission vision. It is selling the role. It's written in a tonality to actually attract candidates. It's not just some really long job advertisement with 100 requirements, right? It's really selling the opportunity, but being very specific to vet out the right person in terms of what you're looking for. And we have examples that we could share of what a great job description actually looks like. The next phase of the process is once we review the job description and we all agree internally on what we're looking for, we make any tweaks. We're then going to want to figure out what is our actual strategy to recruit. So, what are the sourcing channels that we're going to use? There's two different types of candidates when we think of sourcing. There are active candidates, which are in a role or not in a role. They're unemployed or employed, and they are actively clicking on your job ads. There's also another type of candidate called a passive candidate. A passive candidate's in a role, most likely not looking or not taking action on your job ads um, because they're busy working within their role. They're not super interested in making moves. But something that's typical about most sales folks is they are always open to opportunities to better themselves. So, what methodologies are you going to use to attract the right candidates? Typically, A players live in the passive world. Most A players in a normal market, tighter labor market environment, are in a job working today, not clicking on your job ads, right? That's not to say that A players don't exist in your pipeline of active candidates, but we could probably all agree in a normal market where there's a tight labor market, we are going to see most of these A players in the passive market place. So for a passive candidate outreach methodology. So let's start. I'm sorry. Let's start over. From a active channel standpoint, we would pick, let's say, LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter to post the actual roles. From a passive, so let's just say, for the argument's sakes, for the Northeast reps, we're going to be using LinkedIn. We're going to put $1,000 budget on LinkedIn. Sorry. And we're just going to post it. To get a sorry, a little lag there. To get a passive candidate during road mapping, we are going to use our own internal employee network. We are going to also potentially have a recruiter that's internal source manually candidates for a role. So this is where we're actually discovering during road mapping if we're going to use active or passive candidate approach. The third is we're actually recruiting it. So we are already live on the job on the internet. We are doing some passive outreach to local competition. We are having our current employees or teams letting vendors and partners know that we are actually hiring. And is there anyone that's high caliber that we could just have a conversation with around the role? And this is where we're actively recruiting it. So typically in phase 3, when we're hiring for a manufacturer or sales rep, we want to source at least 100 candidates that are within the blueprint of what we're looking for and within the same industry, et cetera, or whatever we built out in terms of our target profile. That typically will yield 20 to 30 conversations, which typically gives us 3 to 5 vetted candidates which actually meet the criteria. From that standpoint, then we move on to phase 4, where we get decision making. So those 3 to 5 finalists, we are going to have our structured interviews with our structured questions, where we could then later make a non-biased decision on who the best hire actually is. Once we get a hopefully an accepted offer, the job isn't over yet. We want to make sure from the day that they accept to their first start date, we're checking in with them. And once they start and they've onboarded, that we actually have a 90-day success plan for them. So if I were to hire a manufacturer sales rep today, this is a tutorial on how I would start doing so. And yeah, thanks so much for the video.